Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So today's video will be a combination of both a vlog and also getting into details about the tech aspect. So today I'm going to speak about all the control cables. The first one will be a clutch and the next will be your accelerator. So starting with the clutch, so there might be few people who think that your clutch free play should be at the minimum, and there are few people who says that there should be no free play at all. But which is the actual part? If you look into your owner's manual, the manufacturer actually recommends you to keep at least 10 to 20 mm of clutch free play from the end or the tip of the lever. But then if you're changing the levers, that measurement actually gets ruined off and you might have to set a different set of free play adjustment. I'll show you how to do that in the later part of the video, but then what is the actual and the correct thing to do? So that is something that we are going to discuss in this video. So firstly, why do we have to keep a clutch free play? So as you can see, every time we shift your gears, you actually pull the clutch lever and then we shift the gear. But why is it necessary? You might be aware that your piston goes up and down and piston is getting connected to the crankshaft, and the power which is generated is actually going to the transmission of your bike. But what happens if you don't pull the clutch is that you won't get a seamless shift, and also there will be wear and tear in the transmission, and sometimes even the transmission can break due to the excessive power that is getting delivered, and it is not able to shift between the gears that is already kept in the transmission box. So the functionality of the clutch here is to temporarily disengage the power which is getting transmitted from the crankshaft to the gearbox. So now how does it do that? So whenever you pull the clutch lever, there will be a small plate which is created between the friction plate and the pressure plate. So now this play is more than enough to stop the transmission of power from the crankshaft to the gearbox, where you can seamlessly shift your gears, upshift or downshift. It can be either of the one. And once you shift it, you release the clutch, and then the transmission gets engaged with the crankshaft and the power gets transmitted through the transmission. It's as simple as that. But now, how does it play? The enough free play makes an important role in maintaining your clutch and also for a seamless shift. The answer is, so suppose, let us assume that your clutch free play is too tight, where there are local mechanics and there are many people who say that you shouldn't be having any sort of free play on your clutch, which is actually a wrong thing, because if you have too little of a free play, or if you don't have a free play at all, there are chances that your clutch might be always disengaged. You can put it in this way, that it is kind of you're pulling the lever slightly and you're riding your bike, right? Okay. So now what happens if you're riding like that? So there will be clutch slippage. The friction plate and the pressure plate are all constantly having a slight amount of gap which slips between each other, causing lot of wear and tear in the clutch hub and the clutch housing and all the components that is related to clutch. So now what if you have too much of a free play? Then in that case, even if you pull the lever, there will not be a sufficient amount of opening or a sufficient amount of disengagement that is required to seamlessly shift your gears, upshifting or downshifting. Okay, I got a stretch. So you understood that why the clutch free play is actually important, and how does it actually matter to set the enough free play of your clutch lever. Now, how do we even adjust it? Can you do it at home? That's a big question mark, right? If you go to a local mechanic, or even if you go for a service center, they might charge you a huge amount to set your clutch and the accelerator free play for that matter. But this is one of the easiest maintenance tasks that you can start doing at your home, even if you're having a new bike and you never worked on a bike before. I think this YouTube video will help you to set your clutch adjustment easily with just common tools. So majority of all the motorcycles will have a mechanism on the lever end where there is a knob. You can just rotate it in the anti-clockwise direction to reduce the free play, and rotate it in the clockwise direction to increase the free play. Now, suppose if you do, some motorcycle might not have this knob at all, or even if your knob has reached its maximum limit, even if you have just a few threads left out, what you can do is you can tighten back the threads completely, and then let it be any motorcycle, you will have an adjuster nut on the engine part where the clutch cable connects to the engine. So in this case with Domina, you have two nuts, one is a locking nut and one is the adjuster nut. So you will need a 14mm and a 12mm spanner to hold the adjuster nut in place, and just undo the lock nut by rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. Once this is done, what you need to do is, if you rotate the adjuster nut in the clockwise direction, the free play gets reduced, and if you rotate in the anti-clockwise direction, the free play gets increased. So what is the exact way to actually measure the free play? Now usually all the manufacturers recommend around 10 to 20 mm of free play, but I suggest you to just measure it from the yoke part and set around 2 to 3 mm of free play. That is more than enough. And if you have a 5 rupees coin, you can keep that as a reference where the thickness of the 5 rupees coin is more than sufficient to exactly set the free play from if you're measuring from the clutch yoke. Now let us assume that you have set the adjustment and you're happy to ride, but no, there's one important thing that you have to notice is that your clutch free play actually changes depending on the steering angle that you are turning. So it is very important to check if you have at least a small amount of free play, even if you're rotating your handle from left to right. So once the adjustment is made, just turn your handle or steering to the left side and check if you have enough play. Now again, rotate the steering to the opposite end and also check if you have enough play, and if you don't have, adjust it accordingly. Once it's done, if you have enough play from all the steering sides, then you're good to go. So lock the lock nut against the adjuster nut and your clutch free play is successfully adjusted. Okay, now you have learned how to adjust your clutch free play. Now let's go on to the accelerator. And I think this is the most ignored maintenance that is done on any motorcycle, and this is also pretty easy and straightforward to do. So now, how do you adjust the accelerator and why is it important? Just like how you adjust a clutch, accelerator is also very important, as accelerator is the one which is actually driving you forward, and any lag in that can give you the feeling of reduced performance. So imagine that I'm riding this motorcycle and I'm twisting the accelerator. What if the power that is generating from the engine is getting delayed, and you get that sloppy and laggy performance out of your motorcycle, which might ruin your overall experience of riding the motorcycle. Now again, accelerator free play is very easy to adjust. So there will be a boot behind your accelerator cable. Alright, so just open the boot, slide open the boot, and there will be two adjustment nuts. One is obviously the adjuster nut itself and the one is the lock nut. So what you need to do is, holding the adjuster nut in place, undo the lock nut and then rotate the adjuster nut in the anti-clockwise direction to reduce the free play that you have. And also you can rotate it in the clockwise direction if you have too much of stiffness, or you can say if you have no free play at all. So now again, one thing to note here is you shouldn't be having any accelerator rising by itself if you rotate your handle from left to right. So to ensure that, what you need to do is, before locking the adjustments in place, you need to just turn on your motorcycle and check if you have the free play as set in a proper way. You can do this just by rotating your handle on left to right, and if you feel that accelerator is raising by on its own, and if you're not rotating the accelerator itself, then in that case you need to do the adjustments again and set it properly. Again, what and how much of your adjustment is required? It is just 1 to 2 mm from any point that you are measuring. So you are obviously, the grip that you're holding will have some sort of markings. You can reference with that, and you can keep an eye on that to keep at least 1 or 2 mm in place of as an free play for accelerator. Now once you have done this with Sue, so you have successfully done your first maintenance if you're a newbie, or if you're not aware of such maintenance that has to be done, I think you have learned something new in this video. And as usual, if you people like this video, feel free to subscribe to Archeonics and follow me on Instagram for more such interesting content.